Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the full board to order. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, invocation. Commissioner Carabelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can bow our heads. Lord, as we gather here today to do the work on behalf of the residents of Macomb County, we ask you to be within our midst. Help us to make decisions that are pleasing to you and to our residents. Help us to be able to have discussions that matter at hand a reasonable way and willing to give up having our own way. God, let this meeting be productive and should be the case in all of our areas of life. We do this in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Item number 4, adoption of the agenda. Need a motion to adopt. Commissioner Sauger, supported by Commissioner Drollet. Please vote.
The motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item number 5, approval of minutes dated December 2nd, 2019. Need a motion for that. Commissioner Haw, supported by Commissioner Kraft. Please vote.
Commissioner Brown?
Not sure about those meetings.
The motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item number 6, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak? Any members of the public wishing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Any members? Will close public participation, seeing none. Item 7, correspondence from the Office of County Executive. We don't have any today. Item number 8, budget adoption. We have a motion to adopt Ordinance 2019-04, in the 2020 Comprehensive General Appropriations Ordinance. Commissioner Drollet, supported by Commissioner Myjack. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion to this motion? What's that? Oh, amendments, yes. I don't have this in front of me. This is the opportunity for amendments. Commissioner Myjack?
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think all of you at your table, you have the proposed amendments. First of all, I'd like to make a motion for amendment number 1, and if supported, I'd like to speak to it. Thank you, Commissioner
You have support.
First of all, I first want to thank Crystal and other folks from our Board of Commissioners office. Thank you very much, Crystal, for working very hard for all of us throughout the budget process. Basically, this amendment is to hold down the increases of each department to 1%. The reason why I came through with this amendment is originally our finance department came up with projected numbers that weren't so good, not necessarily for 2020, but going forward in 2021 and 2022, okay? So the original budget, which was proposed by the executive's office, would mean that we're in deficit, looks like here just about $7 million for 2021 and $11.2 million for 2022. And if I'm wrong on any of those numbers, please let me know. I think the finance department would agree with those numbers. I got this from Mr. Schmiegel not too long ago. So, and let me just go back and say, you know, I was here 10 years ago and we saw the crisis we had 10 years ago, the banking crisis, the Great Recession, and a tremendous loss of property values, which equated into tremendous loss of tax revenue for our county government here, along with all the local government entities, schools, cities, townships. We had to cut our budget surplus then. I think it was about $60 million. We had to cut that by a lot. I can't remember, maybe to $20 million. We cut it by about $30–40 million over 4 years. So that, it went away really fast. Now, I'm not saying by any means these projections going forward are anything like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm taking a more fiscally conservative approach to look forward to the big picture, to protect the county government. And my amendment proposal would at least limit those deficits in 2021 and 2022. Less $6.5 million, that's the difference here this year. And I know things can change and revenues can go up and so on and so forth, but I just think that this proposal makes a little bit more sense and protects us better. So going forward now, if the future is brighter than those numbers, great. That means, you know, that we would have more money in our budget surplus to protect us. If we're in a better position than we are, we could help out county employees with bigger pay raises. We can have new programs, new priorities in the county for say capital projects, for roads, public works department with sewers, so on and so forth, or even contemplate a tax cut. That's the optimist view if we pass this and we're in good shape going forward. But looking at the numbers now, I don't think that's the case laid out by our finance department. And I think at the same time also, this amendment here, along with Commissioner Drolet's amendment, both do not micromanage county departments. I think we give them the latitude to make the necessary priorities or adjustments they need to do with their given department as far as priorities go. So with that, I think I said everything I needed to say. If anybody has any questions or comments, let me know. But my intention here is pretty simple, and it's to protect us here in our county government, because ultimately, and I'm speaking for myself on this, I feel that if we have budget deficits, I feel personally that I have failed. I have failed my job as commissioner and failed the county. So that's why I'm proposing this, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to commend Commissioner Myjack for putting his proposed amendment forward. I know he took a lot of time, looked at Commissioner Drolet's proposal, and then kind of tweaked it a little bit more. And I think what should be noted here is some of the things that he said. And I give great deference to him, because he's been on this commission for a long time, and he was here during the 2008 years. I also give deference to Commissioner Brown, who was here during that period of time, and Commissioner Sauger, who was here during that time. So I think what Commissioner Myjack is doing is putting some foresight into what potentially could happen if we have a downturn in the economy. And, you know, I gave that analogy between the grasshopper and the ant, and Commissioner Myjack is being an ant here. He's saying, let's save a little bit, let's not go through any kind of real trouble in case things go bad here in the next couple of years. It is a 1% increase from what was suggested or what was given to departments in 2019. So all departments are getting an increase here. It's a 1% increase. And I like the analogy that Commissioner Drolet used in proposing his when we were talking about this earlier. He says, look, we're still speeding forward. We're just easing up on the accelerator a little bit. So both of these plans are easing up on the accelerator. My only concern, and with all due respect, Commissioner Myjack, because you've been here, you have a lot of experience, and you've seen the bad times, it may be a little bit too much to ease up on the accelerator this time. It's not a bad plan, and it may be something that should be implemented next year. I'll tell you the reason why, and I'm going to decline to vote for this with some reluctance. Generally, if you recall, in 2019, it was projected that we would have a loss. In the end, we had an $8 million surplus. Okay? So it's very possible any one of these proposed amendments will probably end up with a surplus next year. That could even be close to what you're proposing in your 1%. You know, if we had your 1%, the surplus would even be higher. But I think one way or another, I think 2020 is going to give us a surplus for a variety of reasons, assuming we pass either Drolet's or the proposed one by the executive. Although the executive's original proposed one had us at a deficit. So really, it's not a question to you. It's more of just a comment and giving you the respect you deserve for being on here and the wisdom you have, and for looking at this thing a couple years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonetti. I'll echo what you said about Commissioner Myjack and his wisdom of being here, and that we should be. I think it's a great proposal. However, I think that maybe we don't I think it's more jamming on the brakes than easing up, but I certainly will be for early on next year, getting together as a group and saying, you know what, next year, we're not going to vote for anything larger than this, right? I mean, in kind of making that perfectly clear before the budget comes out, kind of like we did with some of our resolutions this year. But I don't have any other speakers, so we're going to vote on Commissioner Myjak's amendment. Nope, there we go.
Wait,
Oh, Jesus.
I got signed out.
No, give him a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
It won't let me sign back in.
Like it's not loading up.
Okay. I don't have a vote for Commissioner Sauger either.
Yeah, I got it on the board.
Okay, hold on.
If it's
You
saved.
gotta hit save.
There we go.
We're doing things.
The motion has failed 5-7 with Commissioner Sauger, Kleinfeld, Lucido, Leonetti, Haw, Smith, and Brown voting no.
Thank you. Do I have any other, Commissioner Drollet?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the amendment identified as number 2, which is identified as a Drolet amendment, which is, I'd like to clarify. If I have a second, I'd like to speak on that, please.
I have support from
Thank you.
Commissioner Myjak.
Thank you very
Please
much.
speak. Go ahead.
To speak to the amendment, I don't like it identified as a Drolet amendment because this amendment is accumulation of a lot of work that began when you, Mr. Chair, appointed a group led by Commissioner Haw to develop our priorities in the upcoming budget process. So that's what started the path toward this amendment. And this amendment is essentially trying to get to the objectives that we established and voted on as a Board of Commissioners, that we do not spend any more than we take in, and that we add to the fund balance. Now, we did not achieve, this amendment achieves both of those objectives of the board. Maybe not to the extent that we would like, as far as adding more to the fund balance, but it adds to the fund balance. It spends less than we are taking in. It is a result also of a lot of interaction, communication, and contributions from a lot of members of this board for several months, and also suggestions for input from the executive's office on a number of the budgets. The net result is no department will see greater than a 2% increase from 2019, with the exception of public safety. I know that a lot of us were concerned, one way or the other, in relation to the vote on the 911 fee and tax, and we thought that we needed to make sure that we were fully funding public safety, and I believe this amendment will fully fund public safety. Nobody will see a cut. Everybody will get a 2% increase or the exec recommendation. And as Commissioner Leonetti said, we're just taking the foot off the gas a little bit. We're not slamming on the brakes. We're saying, let's slow down the spending a little bit. And I think we accomplished our objectives that we set out with as a group and as a legislative body. So I just appreciate your support.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Just as Commissioner Myjak was complimented for all the hard work put in, I want to put that forth in Commissioner Drollet also. Not only yourself, but every commissioner here. We've had meetings. I want to compliment Crystal, all of the staff. I mean, we've had numerous meetings in that back office going through the budget, one at a time, spend hours and hours and hours upon it. And as we all know, there is nothing perfect in this world, at least not other than myself, but not one size fits all. So if we need adjustments, I'm sure that any department that comes to us, hopefully this is passed, will come to us and we can make those adjustments accordingly. But I just wanted to commend you. You've done a fantastic job. I think this whole body has done a good job because we've had debates back and forth, pro and con, and to come out and hammer out these two amendments, I think took a lot of work and a lot of effort on both your parts. So thank you. That's all I have. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. I again want to echo your comments on Commissioner Drollet's initiative to make sure that everybody is informed on at least his amendment, which was a compilation of a lot of people getting together and talking. I do want to reiterate that if this amendment passes, that we should make it loud and clear to any department out there that you have a 2% increase. If you come back to us at the end of this year and say, I'm sorry, we can't make it on that 2%, we need an amendment, we should be asking them to show us during the year where they've attempted to save and not fill positions or whatever the case may be. So I want to emphasize that Commissioner Romano, you said you're correct. You can come to us anytime for a budget amendment, but don't just think that because we put it to 2%, that if you want 4, at the end of the year, you can come and ask for more. That's my opinion on this. I don't have any other commissioners on board, and I
Some
support this.
speakers.
Oh,
Go details, it'll refresh you.
oh, there we go. Commissioner Myjack, you are
Yeah,
there.
so, through the chair, thanks, Leon, for your hard work on this, but with this proposal, according to the numbers from Finance Department, 2021, we're still going to be in the hole about a little over 5 million deficit. In 2022, 9.4 million. So I'm just letting you all know, when Leon originally proposed this, I looked at those numbers, and I said, we can do better, we need to do better, and that's where I came out with my proposal, just letting you all know. So, I hope that these numbers are wrong, I hope times are gonna be better, and we'll have, as Commissioner Leonetti said, a gift, and we'll have a surplus. But if we don't, and if these numbers hold true, we have work to do in the next couple years. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you. Commissioner Hong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too would like to thank Commissioner Myjack and Leon, as well as the other commissioners that were involved from the very beginning, where we issued a resolution document, and we didn't get everything that we wanted in the document, but the one emphasis that was there is we would not spend more than we took in. And the statement about taking your foot off the gas, you're both correct, by the way. Either situation could apply. We can't predict the future. We can attempt to predict the future, but this puts a surplus from a deficit where we started in the beginning back into the fund. So from that point of view, I support this. I support yours as well, Rob. The difference being taking the foot off a little bit, and I support I support Marv's phone call every meeting. The chairman made it perfectly clear we have to keep that in mind when the department heads come back, because one of the other attributes is the departments may come back and say, I have a surplus. In either case, we need to reconcile how that event happened. Whether you have a surplus and budgetary issues were not faced accordingly, or if you have a deficit and budgetary issues weren't faced accordingly. This is, I think, the comment was made, one of the least spending budgets in numerous years, and all have done a great job. Crystal, I don't know how anybody gets anything done with this stuff without you around. Numbers just kept flying all over the place. And Bob, thank you for allowing Crystal to be that person that allowed numbers to fly all over the place. Because I don't know how we get here without Crystal and the work that Patty and Mike do in the office as well. So thank you, and I will vote for this amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair, for making the statement that you made a few minutes ago, because meeting recently, it was said, well, specifically with regard to is salaries. Well, if they run out of money to pay the employees, they can just come back. Well, if they know the budget at the beginning of the year, with the exception of overtime, they're going to know if they're going to run out of money. So by just by not saying which, if you had not said that, there's no incentive for any department head to not just go over the spending amount that is set and then come to us. So thank you for saying that. And as with the other one, I've talked to commissioners, and commissioners know that I'm not voting for it, but I completely recognize and appreciate why other people are voting for it. It's the same as Commissioner Myjack's. I don't know what the outcome is going to be after the negotiated union contracts and the compensation study. And I think Schmiegel said one of the departments he mentioned that the 2% alone was all the things below salaries. Probably the county executive can work all of that out. So it'll probably all work out. But because of those unknown factors, I won't be supporting it, but I certainly appreciate everybody else on why they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Caravelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we've come a little bit from where we were, and at the end of the day, each process is getting a little bit better. Not where we probably need to be, and I think we need to start January 2nd when we get back to work on working on 2021. So the sooner we can start working on it together and trying to see where everybody's at, I think it makes the process a little easier instead of waiting to the 9th hour. They know where we're coming from as the Board of Commissioners, and we know where they're coming from instead of waiting to 2 months left in the year to see what's happening. With that said, Crystal, thank you. I won't call you every morning and afternoon.
She said thank you.
I'd like to thank the board chair's leadership on this as well. I'm not done with the courts yet. I'm still working on that, see if there's legislation that can assist us in that process, and also some directions from the chief judge, see if we can save some money from there as well, because I think that is a big gap that needs to be addressed. And I'm not stopping on it, though we won't be able to do anything right now with it, but this is something that I think we all need to roll our sleeves up and keep working on that, because that's broken and that needs to be fixed. With that said, I'd like to, again, thank the commissioners with their amendments that they came forth, and let's vote.
Oh, Commissioner Romano snuck in at the last second.
Real quick, Chair Smith, if you don't mind, would you give the process once this vote is taken and what part takes from there on in, as far as when the vote is given and what happens then?
After this vote, there is an opportunity for any other amendments out there to be made. And then once all amendments are finished being brought forward and voted on, then we will vote on the ordinance as amended by these votes.
And then what do we do with the vote?
I'm sorry, what?
What do we do with the budget?
Yes, we will approve the budget, the executive, if we don't do exactly his budget, the executive will have 10 business days in which to veto. Right, I was going to explain, that's what you're looking for. To veto this vote and, or this budget that we passed, and then we would also have some time after that to potentially override any veto.
Thank you.
Great. All right, I don't see any other questions on here, any other speakers, so please vote.
Motion passes 10-2 with Commissioners Kleinfeld and Kraft voting no.
Thank you. Do we have any other amendments? What's that?
Chair, I'm withdrawing mine. I'm for a couple of reasons, but I'm withdrawing my request. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
I'm withdrawing my request as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you. I don't have any other requests for amendments, so at this point, we will vote on the 2019-04 2020 Comprehensive General Appropriations Ordinance as amended. Need a motion for that? Oh, we already have. We had the motion to start, yes. It's all right.
The motion passes 11-1 with Commissioner Kraft voting no.
Great. Thank you. Item number 9, proclamations. Item A, congratulating Peter James Costello on the occasion of his 100th birthday, and B, commending Tyler Leverance for achieving status of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America. Can I have a motion to adopt both A and B? Commissioner Sauger, supported by Commissioner Drollet. Please vote.
The motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 10, new business. Any commissioners with new business? Commissioner Drollet?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my comments introducing the amendment, I was remiss in acknowledging Crystal's work throughout this whole process.
She was telling me about that.
I don't want to miss that out. I'm glad a lot of people acknowledge it. But I also want, again, to acknowledge everybody's contribution to making our legislative branch engaged in this process in a way that accomplishes, I think, the objectives that we articulated. So I concur with Commissioner Carabelli in that we have a ways to go, obviously, to improve the function of our branch of government, but I think we've made progress. And it's never going to be pretty or smooth, at least it never has been in any body I've been involved, but we, I think, have established that we can work as a check and a balance and in cooperative function with the executive branch in coming up with what I think is a better budget than any one of us could have come up with individually. So I thank everybody involved once again and appreciate everybody's involvement. Thank you.
Commissioner Kleinfeld. You
Chair, I
promised.
have a NACO.
Going back on your promise.
I know I am. I have a NACO Board of Directors meeting tomorrow, so I won't be at tomorrow's meetings. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Drolet, you stole what I was going to say. I think I want to say I'm proud of the board for actually, doing their legislative job, and I think that we've been making little steps towards being a little bit more of an equal body of government, and I'm really proud of everybody here. And I don't want to leave Crystal out either, just in case she gets mad like she was mad at Leon a minute ago. Thank you, Crystal, for everything. I don't have any other people on new business. We're in closed new business, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak? Any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none. Motion to adjourn, Commissioner Drolet, supported by Commissioner Haw. Meeting adjourned.